Hello, everyone. I'm Noreen, the founder of Inspiring Women Hospitality, and today joining me is Debbie. She is going to be one of the facilitators at the upcoming Inspire Influence Live in London on the 7th of November, and I am so grateful to her that she said yes. Our origin story is beautiful. If anyone wants to watch her whole story, you can watch her podcast recording. But I definitely wanted to give a shout out to Sarah, Wilson, and Anita for making this connection a reality. So thank you, Debbie, for joining us today.
Great to be here. I'm Debbie Flynn. I'm the managing partner and global travel practice leader at Finn Partners. We're a global marketing agency. And yes, I guess Sarah and Anita are both women of great influence to me. So when they connected us, I had to get to know you.
Fantastic. So you already did your introduction. Was there anything else you'd like to add to that introduction, or should we go straight into your career highlights?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. I can tell you a bit about my career highlights. And when you said this is what you wanted me to talk about, how do you put 40 years of working in travel and tourism um, into this very short slot? So I've really cut it down to big chunks. So my first 10 years at British Airways, I didn't go
Mm,
to uni. I was a management trainee there, so it was kind of like my uni. And there are still people all over the world that I met during those 10 years that certainly shaped me, influenced me, and connected me, and I worked with in different ways over the years. So that was kind of a massive career. I mean, I don't think I would be where I am today if it wasn't for my 10 years at BA. And then, of course, setting up Brighter PR, which became Brighter Group, which is my own travel PR and marketing agency, which I ran for 23 years. And again, you can talk about that for a whole hour, but an
easily.
amazing experience, lots of ups and downs. Totally, really, probably is the period that really shaped me as a person. And then obviously it was a fantastic success to then be acquired by Finn Partners, which was a global agency, which allowed me after 23 years of kind of pretty much doing the same thing with lots of amazing clients for just the UK to become part of a global agency and learn more about digital marketing and communications and influencing and brand. So I was able to offer that to clients. It gave my team a fantastic opportunity to be part of something bigger. And now I'm kind of in this next era of my life, which is a global role where actually I spend more time thinking about the offices that are newer in travel for Finn, like India and the UAE, obviously being strategically involved with clients across lots of practices, people like Delta and Palmers. So that's kind of where I am now. And then I would say other things over that period of time are my two main charity contributions. One is I've been um, giving pro bono help and a trustee for Just to Drop. I've been a trustee now, I think, for 7 years of Just to Drop, the water aid charity. And I went to my first meeting when my first son, I was still on mat leave when he was in the baby carrier. So a long time, and I really very much care about that charity. And then I'm also chair of the Anglo-Jordanian Society, which again goes back to the 21 years that we represented Jordan in the UK, in a very special country dear to my heart. And then finally, a couple of startup investments that I've been involved in. One is an amazing tour operator called Not in the Guidebooks. And they specialize in local community authentic travel. And the latest one is called Club Evander, and it's a solo female travel membership club. So that's kind of me, where I am now.
Fantastic, Debbie. Thank you so much for sharing those. And yeah, anyone who wants to hear the full story can go and listen to the podcast that we recorded, I think almost 2 years ago. And I think all these things that you just mentioned towards the end there are things that we didn't capture that time. So it's really nice to hear how your journey has evolved since you've taken on this sort of the third and fourth part of your career now. So thank you so much for sharing those. And on the day for the 7th, you already kind of referenced it. We are really focusing on influence. So why is influence important in the workplace?
And that's such a big question, isn't it? So when I was thinking about this, it's everywhere and everything to everybody, I think, in terms of um, how we are influenced as people and how we influence people. Now, whether it is our team members, our bosses, our investors, our customers, our journalists, it's all in very, very different ways. But I think ultimately, influence is about people trusting you, whatever it is you're talking about. It's about driving progress. It doesn't really matter in what respect, if it's driving progress in your career because you've listened to something someone said and it's really motivated you, or whether it's influencing customer to buy your product. That's all progress, really, isn't it? You can also manage conflicts, I think,
Mm.
in a big way. They could be big, they could be small, but I think in any situation where there is a conflict or something that needs to be debated in depth, if you trust somebody and they are of influence because of the things that they have experienced themselves, that they have been through, I think it's a lot about relatability. If you
Mm.
can relate to somebody and what they're saying and what they've been through, they're going to be of influence to you, or vice versa, because it kind of makes sense. And then I think the final thing I was thinking about influence is that it can create happiness. You can be influenced by somebody and you think about something in a different way, and you may go off and do something totally different, which creates happiness, or you influence somebody to buy your holiday product today, and they have a great time. So it's kind of like front and center, and you don't really think about it every day, do you? But it's
Mm.
everywhere, permeates all of our lives, I think, and is such a powerful word.
I agree. I would say this conversation is having an influence on me that it's going to put a smile on my face for the rest of the day. Because I'm so excited that you're joining us. But I just know that every interaction that we've had, just you're right, it changes. From you may be in a different place mentally, and then you have a conversation with someone that you really connect with and has some kind of, it will influence how you're feeling. And I would say that has definitely been the case every time I've been with you. So thank you, Debbie, so much for sharing this and being with us on the seventh. And the final question I want to ask you now is, can you share some stories of influence as well?
Well, now this is another big one, and we could be here all day, because if you think about it, my job as a PR practitioner is all about influencing
Mm-hmm.
people. It's what I do every day. And I mean, and life has changed in as much as when I started 40 years ago, it was about influencing journalists and journalists only. And now we have influencers as a category of a group that we talk to every day, and that's what they're called. And then, of course, we also have stakeholders who are people of influence. So it's become even bigger in our role in the PR industry. But I thought of a couple of stories that be good examples. One is going back to Jordan, and over the many years that we represented Jordan, they faced many challenges in terms of things that have happened in the region that have potentially I guess put people off going at that particular time. So the challenge has always been, how do you say come to Jordan, it's safe, without saying the word safe, which you can never say in PR because no one can guarantee
Mm.
anything. So one of the things that we did that worked really well, and it was also great fun, is we wanted to position Jordan um, as somewhere safe to go. And what's safer than taking your family to a destination? So we created a press trip called Jordan for Juniors, and we had journalists bring their kids. And I brought my sons too. And it was all about seeing Jordan through the eyes of a child. But the reality, and we did some great stuff, the Raiders of the Lost Ark. I mean, there's so many fun things to do there, real adventure stuff. But the key actually was that when somebody read those stories that came out in many media, including, my friend Lisa, who's a head of travel at the Sun, brought her daughter, then what you do is you think, well, if they're taking their kids there, it must be safe. So you don't need to say it. So the influence of those journalists taking their own children to a destination that at the time had some perception issues was really powerful. And then the other one I was thinking about quite recently was a couple of years ago. There was some terrible wildfires in Rhodes, and Greece one of our clients, and it was in the height of the summer. And the media stories gave the impression that you couldn't go to Rhodes, that the whole island was on fire. But in fact, it was in an isolated area, and it was creating quite a lot of fear mongering amongst people that had holidays booked in the next, like, maybe 3 or 4 weeks, and potentially cancelling, and also influencing the September bookings, where a lot of people will go to places like Greece and they'll book it last minute when the kids go back to school. So we literally had 4 days to turn around a group of influencers, as in people that are called influencers because they are famous for influencing their followers, whether it's Instagram or TikTok. And, you know, they went to the part of the island that was absolutely fine, people sunbathing and swimming in the sea, and their stories came live. And again, that was a way of influencing people really, really quickly. And probably the years before, when I talk about the Jordan trip, if influencers had existed, then we would have had some influencers on that trip too, and we would have had a mixture of, you know, live from Jordan, and obviously the features that came out in the national press. And they were both powerful stories that made a difference and influenced people's behavior ultimately.
And yeah, I mean, PR, journalism, I mean, you guys are the original influencers, right? And as you said, now there's a whole new category that's come out. And I think that's beautiful. And I think that's the message that I'm also trying to share with this event that we're working towards, is anyone can be a person of influence, right? You don't have to be the most senior person in the room to be that. I think you use that person of influence, right? And I think, you know, how can we as individuals still, you know, we either we may not have the skill sets in order to do that, or even if we do, we may not have the safe space to practice that. So that's what we're creating on the 7th, is to create that space where we can practice those skill sets, learn from others, because we're going to be in a room full of, you know, fantastic women, a fantastic group of women across the industry, and just to be able to apply some of those learnings in that. Well, here I'm going to use the word safe because it is, right? It's going to be a closed set where we're just, you know, a group of us together. Yes.
You can. I think the other thing I'd add, though, is also about being authentic.
Yes.
You know, if you're going to influence someone, it has to be real. And that's when it becomes relatable. So I think the authenticity, and whatever it is, has to be true.
Yeah. And I like what you said also at the beginning about that storytelling element, like finding that story that's going to connect with whoever you're speaking to. So even in a business case scenario, or even when you're talking about, you know, advocating for yourself, which are the two topics that we're going over, how do you find ways to connect with the audience, right? Getting to know the other person is going to be, it's actually less about you, more about the other person as well. Gosh, you're right, Debbie. I think I could keep talking to you forever, but I will bring this to a close and leave some of the conversation for the 7th, because then we can go into a bit more details on that day. So thank you so much for joining me today, and thank you for those who are listening, and I hope you're going to be enticed or influenced to come and join us as well on the 7th.
Oh, you've got a few places left, haven't you? So
I do.
I hope you still get more sign-ups, because it's going to be a tremendous day, and I'm really excited to be there.
Thank you so much, Debbie.
Okay, see you next week.